here immediately, so we will come here to our left. Coach in the first row right by the podium.
Coach Brown, Walker, freelance rider. I know you're opening the season in Charlotte. Charlotte has been important for North Carolina recruiting forever. First college football game in Charlotte, North Carolina in 1895. Talk about your connection to Charlotte and how important that is for you guys moving forward in Charlotte.
One of the biggest things that I've noticed in difference from the time I was here before is the growth in Charlotte. There's so many more players here than there were before, and it's a very, very fertile recruiting ground. That we've lost a lot of players the last few years. So it's important for us to play in Charlotte so we can get these young guys to come to our game, because you can, South Carolina can get them to come, and we can get prospects to come to this game now that changed that rule for a neutral site. So it's not only the home team can bring games, both, or bring kids, both can. So we're really excited about opening here.
Coach, to your right in the first row.
Coach Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Just what you could say about, obviously you stepped away from coaching a few years ago. Why come back, why now, and why return to North Carolina to lead again?
Thank you, Dan. When we got out of coaching 5 years ago, I talked to Dick Vermeil, and he said, don't ever say you won't get back into coaching, because you don't know what opportunities will come up. You don't know how you'll feel at that time. So I kept saying we would look at things, and every year, as much as I love TV, we would interview at some job. None of them seemed to fit, whether they didn't want us or we didn't want to live there or whatever. And actually asked Sally a year ago, a prominent job that I was interested in, called and asked if I would talk to him. I asked my wife, Sally, would you go here? And she said, no, I'm not going there. I don't want to live there. You don't fit there. That's stupid. We're not doing that. She said, I'll let you coach in Hawaii. I'll let you coach in the Bahamas. I said, they don't even have football. She says, well, we'll start a team and call them the Bahama Iguanas. And she said, or I'll let you coach in Chapel Hill. And she said, that's it. Well, we really liked Larry Fedora. He was a great friend, so I never thought we'd coach again. And then Bubba called at the end of the year. And it'd been a year after the Hall of Fame where we had talked to a lot of different players that had played for us. And they all talked about how much we meant in their lives. And they're talking to their children about things we talked to them about. And walking out of the building at North Carolina in August of last year, Sally said, there's two things I learned tonight. Number one, you better not tell a kid something as a coach unless you mean it, because he's going to remember it. And number two, that there's a void in your life and you love mentoring young people, and you can't do that right now with TV. And I understand that better now. And then it was just a blessing for us when I hated to see Larry go, but when Bubba called and asked us to come, we just thought it's the only place I had permission to coach. Number one, it's a place that we loved. We had some unfinished business. We're really excited to go back, and we've had a wonderful 8 months.
Coach, left side, very back row.
Hey, Coach, Jeff Bradley, WRL TV. Coming out of spring ball, where are you in evaluating your quarterback situation?
Jeff, we starting spring ball, we felt like we had three talented quarterbacks, and really none of them were playing well. It was a new offense. It's an offense that the quarterback has to make a lot of decisions at the line of scrimmage, and they were all pressing. And we were throwing too many interceptions. And we thought, for a team that had too many turnovers last year, it was an awful message. So what we told the quarterbacks is, let's quit worrying about who's going to play. Let's learn the offense and do the same thing this summer. I've been asking Charlie and Miles some today about what they've seen over the summer and what's happening out there. And then we told the guys that we'll make the decision in the fall about who will start, who will play, and it'll be the guy that moves the team the best and gets it in the end zone. I mean, that's just it. And the biggest decision we've got to make in the next month and a half is who starts at quarterback against South Carolina. All three are talented enough, all three are good enough, all three are young. You got a freshman, two redshirted freshmen, so it's a blessing in disguise. And you always worry about the transfer portal when you start talking about quarterbacks, because if they're not playing, they usually want to transfer. So we've got to figure all that out.
Coach, right side, fifth row, sort of near the aisle.
Brian Keys with Daily Target. Coach, you spoke a lot about wanting to incorporate the air raid offense now with North Carolina, but what are some specific things that North Carolina fans are going to see for the first time on the field come fall?
Okay, Brian, the thing that I think is overused is the term air raid. What I want is a team that can throw the ball as well as anyone in the country, and the air raid offenses have been doing that. I watched it for 16 years in Texas with Mike Leach and with Cliff Kingsbury. The thing that was missing with them, in my estimation, was the power running game. And what happened with Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, and what happened with Phil Longo at Ole Miss is they're taking the air raid concepts, they're spreading people out, but they're running the football. And they've got two backs in a lot of cases, or a tight end, and it's still the old power running game. And I love the combination of both. So when I was at Carolina, I know we had the most 1,000-yard rushers in the country. I don't know how that's calculated over the last few years. I haven't looked back, but we will still be a prominent power running team that will also throw the ball. And in the air raid offense, they throw it deep. And what I've been impressed with what Phil Longo has brought, it's a very simple concept, as Charlie was talking about, even with the offensive line, but it puts a lot of pressure on the defense. You're able to throw the ball deep, you can get it to a Michael Carter in space, but at the same time, you can run the ball off tackle.
Coach, to your left, third row.
Bob Holliday, WRL.com. Coach, welcome back.
Thanks, Bob.
First, it's a two-part question. First, why the air raid offense? I'm sure it helps sell tickets. Secondly, Larry Fedora ran a pretty wide open offense based on the spread. What are the differences in what you're going to be doing now versus what Carolina has done in Fedora?
Why air raid offense? I think it's the best offense that's out there right now with a combination of what we probably should change the name, because when you say air raid, everybody thinks that the Mike Leach throw it every time, and that's not what we're doing. So it's got a different, it's really a different concept than what it sounds like it is. But I think it's the best way. To me, you need to be able to run the ball and win all the games. And the best teams in the country can run the ball. And that hasn't changed for years. It's not going to change. It also helps your defense. Because if you're going to throw it 3 straight times and you get 3 incompletions, you're off the field very quickly. Your defense is on the field too long. So I felt like one of the advantages I had over a lot of coaches is I had 5 years to sit like you guys and watch. And I called games every Friday night, and I saw young coaches that I liked, and I saw concepts, and I saw different practices, and all those things have helped me be a better coach. So I feel like that's what it will bring to us.
Coach, first row to your right.
Hi, Coach. Hal from the News Journal and the Sports Blast. You just mentioned coming from the media and TV world, we've got this big news about the ACC network. Can you speak a little bit to what you've experienced with that and what it's going to mean for the conference? And, there's still a lingering question out there about a couple of big networks that haven't signed on yet.
Yes, Hal, it's a great question. I was involved in the starting of the Longhorn Network. So I've got way too much experience in starting networks. And all the pressure was on Texas at that time. At least there's a group of us now that have that. And John Swofford's done a tremendous job with this league. The league is so much stronger than it was when I was here before. Won a national championship in about every area when we start looking at the success. And I really feel like that the fans are the ones that put the pressure on the networks because they're going to want to see the games. And that's how it worked at Texas. And it wasn't an easy process, but over time, it worked. And ESPN's the best at what they do. In my opinion, I just watched them and ABC sell for the last 5 years, and they're the ones selling the network. So it's going to work. It'll start out at a lot more prominent place than most of the networks around the country started. And over 2 or 3 years, you'll see it be as powerful as any.
Coach, through the podium here to the left.
Yeah, Mack, Sammy Diamond, Fayetteville Observer. You mentioned unfinished business coming back to Chapel Hill. Could you kind of elaborate on what you talked about that?
Yeah, Sammy, you guys don't look any older. I look a lot older, but I'm seeing all you people out here that were here when I was here before. You must have been really young. I think that's what it was. I was a puppy. Yes, when we left, we were 4th in the country, I think. We just won 10 and then won 11. We were recruiting as well as anybody in the country. We were getting most of the guys we wanted out of the state of North Carolina, and some out of Virginia, some out of South Carolina and Georgia. And we were really on a roll. And because of a lot of different circumstances, Sally and I thought it was best for us to leave at that time. but we did feel bad leaving a great team. I think there were 22 guys off that defense drafted in 96 and 97. So we want to come back and get it back like it was, Sammy. But even better, we'd love nothing more than to win a national championship here.
Coach, we'll go right up the aisle and to the left.
Mack, Kickoff, Raleigh News and Observer. What did you learn at Texas that you want to apply now or do differently this time around?
What did I learn at Texas that I want to do differently? I think we're all creatures of habit, and if we're not careful, we get in a little box sometimes, and we don't get outside the box. Leaving Texas got me outside of the box, so we did pretty much the same stuff at Texas that we did here the first time. And I think over the last 5 years, I've learned that there's other ways to do things as well. And just like your all's jobs, most coaches think you sit around all day trying to figure out how you make the coach look bad or find something negative about the program. And what I found out is you're trying to make a living. You're trying to find something that somebody will read or something that somebody will watch. And it's been really healthy for me. And I've told the coaches in our meetings that embrace the media, help them when you can with their jobs. And if you mess something up, they're going to say you messed it up, and that's part of their job. Because ESPN, ABC were on me all the time about you got to say it. It's there. It's real. I know he's your buddy, but that's part of the deal. So I think the thing that I learned is I will never let a staff have too much control again, which is a strong statement, but I'm the one responsible for everything that happens in football at the University of North Carolina, so I need to make those final decisions. I'll get their input. Same thing with recruiting. I'm the one that knows who fits the place better than anyone else, so I need to make those final decisions. And the other thing I'll do is that you get into coaching because you love the game and you love the players. And if you're not careful, you win so many games, it becomes about the wins more than anything else. And I asked Coach Royal, who won 3 national championships at Texas, maybe 10 years in, I said, Coach, why did you quit at 52 years old? And he said, because the wins became a relief and the losses became disaster, devastation. And he said there was no joy. And then I looked up and I found myself at that place in Texas that if we didn't win all the games, then it was my fault. Your worth becomes what you do in wins, and you don't realize that while you're there. So I'm going to have fun. I'm still not going to enjoy winning, but we're going to learn. I mean, losing, and we're going to learn from losing when we lose, because we'll lose some. Just about everybody does. And then we move forward with it. And I'm spending a lot more time with players and Saturday night lunch or dinner with the guys every day that we can, just so we can find out about their lives and how they're doing off the field. And also learn that you make your rules and there's consequences for your rules. And it used to kill me when a young guy would get in trouble. And very honestly now, rules are rules. If you mess up, you got consequences like everybody else. You knew the rules before you messed it up. So you take the consequences and we move on. So I'm at a better place right now in my life and with sports than I've ever been.
We're going to see if we can break a record by getting 3 questions in the next 5 minutes to your
That
right.
is great. I heard you.
Hi, Coach. Doug Coates from the Lake Norman Herald Citizen.
Hey, Doug.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about the significance of the city of Charlotte recruiting here. You have a couple of freshmen wide receivers from this area. Do you have any guys who are younger that you're really looking to get a lot of playing time at that position?
Doug, one of the things with the offense we brought in, sometimes you're in 4 wide receivers, so you really need about 14. Because 2 deep now means 8. So there's a lot of people that we need, and we were short on numbers of wide receivers. We still are. So we may sign 4 or maybe even 5 this year as you look at it. But I'm excited about getting back and watching practice. We lost so many guys in the spring that weren't out there. And then you add the new guys, and we're going to have to develop some depth. Our senior class is good. We've got some voids and sophomores and juniors, but the young ones coming in we think have a chance to play. We've never seen them on the field together because we can't see them in the summer. and we haven't been able to watch those wide receivers. But one of the things in this offense, playing wide receiver is very simple. So a young guy can play mentally, he just got to make sure he plays physically.
Down the middle aisle, left in the back.
Coach Michael Martin, Inspection News. You talked about unfinished business, you readdressed that. Talked about new facilities and all the things that are new, and you also talked about Sally's permission to go back to Chapel Hill. But what is it about UNC and Chapel Hill and that program that is the constant for you that drew you back, other than just the job?
It's a great question. We decided, number one, we were not going to move anywhere we didn't want to live. And we loved Chapel Hill before. We raised our children here in Chapel Hill, and some of our kids went to the University of North Carolina. We loved the place. We had 10 years. We had a lot of success here. So the ex-players constantly be in our lives, and that was important. And I think as much as anything is that I love fixing things, and right now we're struggling some. We need to get more people in the seats, and we've got to improve our game day experience. And the guys, to me, are talented, but we haven't finished games like we should because of the little things Charlie and Miles talked about. And all of that stuff, all of those things are things that excite me. So living there, being in the state where you know a whole lot about this state, because I coached at Appalachian and UNC, the fact that the conference right now is so good, we've got the best team in the country in Clemson, and everybody knows that's the mark now. That's the standard that's set. So all of that just fit us perfectly. And Sally didn't want to leave the first time, so to say the truth.
Last question, to your left here in the second row.
Doug Gaddy from the Roanoke Times.
Hey, Doug.
Obviously, you've been around football since we saw you last. How has recruiting changed, though, during that period with all the transfer portals and grad transfers, et cetera, and you quick in getting up to speed from that aspect?
Yes, Doug. I was involved with recruiting with ESPN, so I never lost touch with it. And when I was the president of the American Football Coaches Association, we wanted an early signing date. So everybody will understand what we proposed was that the legacy young man, and that's the guy that only visits one school, he's not going anywhere else, he could sign early, and early enrollees could sign early. That was all we wanted for an early signing day. Well, the NCAA changed it and said we can't have some sign and not give everybody permission to sign. And now there's only one signing day. December's become the signing day. So that means now that you've got official visits in the spring, you've got young people on your campus about every day, and there's no days off. So I think we've really got to look at that. I'd rather have a signing date in June. The end of June, all these guys are committed, let them sign. Then they go play with their schools and forget it. And, you don't have to recruit them all fall, and it helps high school football. But that's the biggest thing, I think. And now we're looking at sophomores, and very honestly, you're going to make mistakes if you're starting to offer a lot of sophomores. You've got a couple of semesters academically, you don't know about their growth. You're not even sure what kind of team player they are. So I really worry that we're getting out there too far. I was one of the ones that started offering juniors early, and now people are offering freshmen. So I think we need to slow down and take a deep breath, because when you bring in the wrong guys, and when you're evaluating so early, you're going to bring in some of the wrong guys, then you're going to have more guys in the transfer portal. And I don't like the fact that we've made it so easy to transfer. Coaches change schools, players should be able to change schools, but a lot of the young guys that went in the portal didn't get a better school. So I think that's really going to slow down next year when they look at the options. It always looks greener. And the other thing, Doug, is that those that transfer usually don't do well academically. I think like 30-something% may graduate. So we've really got to look at the transfers, the transfer portal, the appeal process, and academically how we help a young person when they transfer.
North Carolina, thank you. Good luck this year.
Thank you very much.
Folks, a reminder to the media that voting for the